Alrighty, here I am in Substance Painter, and I got the same deal as I had in Marmoset Toolbag. I just loaded my low poly, exploded this way, and my Substance Painter already recognized my two texture sets, which are right here. So I have body and I have skin, where I have my face, and you can see my texture map, how it's laid out, which is really good. And the other thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to go here in the bakers. So if you click here, and if you haven't baked, if you never baked in Marmoset, if you never baked in Substance Painter before, is just go to texture settings and click on bake mesh maps. Right now it's going to prompt you with this dialog, which you should use, and we are going to select our high poly. So I'm going to look for my high poly first. Okay, I've loaded my high poly here, and I can set the size of my textures right here. I'm actually going to set it to 8K like I had in Marmoset Toolbag. And we can scroll down to see a couple of things. Match always. I always leave everything that you see here as it is. Anti-aliasing, we're doing 8K. So I'm just going to do a subsampling of 2x2. Usually when I'm doing 4K, I would do subsampling of 4x4, but 8K is a lot, so I'm just going to choose 2x2 just to be on the safe side. And then we go into the other maps. I don't need thickness. This is for subsurface scattering. If you're going to use it, I'm not going to use it with this particular character. I'm going to uncheck ID because I don't have an ID mask to bake with this character as well. And now I'm going to go into each little setting. So for secondary rays, just to match, in here you don't have to match what I had in Marmoset Toolbag. Actually, when I'm doing things in Substance Painter, because this baker takes a little bit longer, what I like to do is I'll do 128, and 128 is just fine for what you're doing, unless you're doing something for VFX for production film or something like that. 128 should be fine, but you can go as high as you want. It'll just make the baker take a little bit longer. So when we go, let me see, check my curvature is fine. Position, and as I mentioned, I like to bake position here, and the reason why I like to bake it here is because it allows me to change the axis. So I'm going to change from X to Y, because Y will give me that bake from top to bottom, and like I mentioned, it's going to give me that gradient from top to bottom that I will use later on in the texturing process. Okay, so we have our ambient occlusion setup, our position setup. Now we are ready to bake. And I'm going to say bake all texture sets, and I'll see you when this is done. Okay, that took an ungodly amount of time to finish, but here we are. So as you can see, I, just like it did in Marmoset Toolbag, I have my normal maps looking nice and shiny, and I have my ambient occlusion maps. However, the difference is, if you remember, we didn't have these lines in the fingers when I baked in Marmoset Toolbag. Now we have them here, and this is because of the cage. The reason why is because I'm presuming that Marmoset, I'm sorry, starting to confuse it too. The reason why is because Substance Painter creates its own cage, and as you can see from the get-go, in Marmoset Toolbag, the cage was pretty big, and I think the cage might have been a little bit bigger here in Substance Painter, and that's why it created these lines, which just means there was a little bit of overlap right there. Anywho, it's not a big deal. This can be fixed real quick, and again, it's just a hand, so I can take care of that later with no problem. So the beauty of this is, now that we have this scene with all the maps baked in, what we could do is just bring in that other model that is complete, that is put together, and it will inherit all the maps as long as it has the same ID maps. And I want to leave that as a teaser for the next video that I'm going to make about the texture sets and the ID maps. But for now, what I'm going to do is bring in the complete model and show you that you can use it in exactly the same scene. So here we go. you go to project configuration, and what you'll do is you will just change the mesh that you have here. It's going to tell you, be careful, modifying this will change the computer channels, blah blah blah. It doesn't matter as long as your model has the same texture sets and the same ID map. So let me load that and show you how it's done. Alright, so as you can see, nothing changed but the model itself, and I have my model here looking very nice and very cool. And the other thing is, now in this one, I didn't have the problems that Marmoset Toolbag has, where it will create some weird bakes whenever I don't have the high poly. So as you can see, the eyes are completely clean, and this part of the belt is also completely clean, which is really important. So again, the bakers have their benefits and their drawbacks. Use the one that works for you. I personally, I'm going to keep on using Marmoset Toolbag just because it's not only more convenient, but it gives me a little bit better control. But as you can see, Substance Painter works just as well. So if you already have Substance Painter, use this one for baking. I think it's a very nice tool. Alright, so this is the end of this series of videos. I'm going to keep on working with these characters. I'm going to show you about the texture sets in the next set of videos. Please comment whatever questions you have. I'll try to answer as fast as possible. Like and subscribe, that really helps the channel. And I'll see you in the next video.